Welcome to Devlog 3 of the medieval era strategy game that I've been developing for the past year. In my previous devlogs, I added character controllers, the navigation system, and added all playable characters. And I think it's high time to add some structure to the game and tie it all together in a story mode campaign. Introducing the campaign, I present to you the Kingdom of Argodel. The kingdom is controlled by three factions: Exdonia, Korgor, and Ballroom. As you play the game, the story will highlight how these three factions have lived peacefully but were pushed into war after the mysterious deaths of their kings. For the purpose of narrating the story, I added a dialogue system that would help unfold the story as the game progresses. I wanted the player to have a connection with the characters, as this connection becomes important in some of the decisions later on in the game, and a dialogue system serves that purpose better than a wall of text. The dialogue system pops up whenever a new region is selected. Through this, the story progresses and the player is informed of any new developments. Now that I had a working campaign progression system, the next area that I really wanted to improve was the system for in-game resources. Up until now, at the start of every mission, the player would get a fixed amount of funds to deploy the first few units, and then additional funds were acquired from killing enemy units. This had to change, as what kind of strategy game does not have any form of resource gathering? So I added a gold resource to the game that can be mined for in-game funds. I then added these guys who would mine this gold and collect resources for us. The player now has very limited amount of gold at the start of every mission and can choose to deploy resource gathering units or combat units. The enemy faction is also bound by the same resource limits and will be more intelligent about spending its gold based on a new enemy AI that I wrote. The last thing that I want to show for this devlog is the new enemy unit deployment AI. The previous system relied on a time-based deployment of units without taking into consideration the available funds. To make this work and to give the illusion of a proper enemy AI, I would have multiple enemy deployers in the same scene, one for each unit type, and would manually tweak the settings to get the desired results. There were some very obvious problems with this system. First off, it was not fair to the player, who could only deploy units based on available funds, whereas the enemy just kept on deploying new units irrespective of available funds. And the other major problem was that it was taking way too long to balance these missions, as I would have to playtest a mission many times before I could find an interesting balance between challenging and too easy. I have now written an enemy manager that is much more intelligent and is bound by the same restrictions as the player regarding in-game currency. Now that the player and enemy get the same amount of starting gold, the enemy manager will always start off the game by deploying 3 or 4 mining units. It will then wait some time for the gold to collect and then start deploying combat units. If it ever runs out of money, it may deploy another mining unit and wait roughly 10 seconds before deploying again. If it ever loses more than 2 mining units, it will prioritize mining units over combat units. I've been testing this new system for some time, and it's much better than my previous implementation and is much more fun to play against. And that is all I have to show for this devlog. For those following along, I thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the new changes. If you're interested in this game, please join my Discord, where I post more frequently between devlogs. The link is in the description below. And with that, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.